Hello, everyone, and welcome to Team Duda's first ever workshop presentation. And we have Carlos from Light Labs, who's going to tell us all about Spectro Chrome healing, healing with light. And I, for one, am fascinated by this subject and really keen to hear more. So, yeah, take it away, Carlos.
Well, thank you for having me, Dave. I really appreciate you putting this on, and uh, and I want to just give a shout out to everyone in the Planet Doodah team. It's an amazing project you have going on, Dave. But to get started, I'm super excited. I came across this modality called spectrochrometry about 2.5 years ago, and at first I was a bit, um, I had a lot of questions. I didn't believe it all at once, and so I purchased a book, and it led me to 2.5 years of research, and it kind of culminated into realizing that a lot of people didn't know. Well, I didn't know much about light, and in my research I came across that, well, most people didn't. It wasn't until like the late 1800s that people started studying how light affects living things, around the 1860s. Although there were stories that I came across that, people used stones and like they would create specific rooms with, and they would like with specific colors, specifically using stone and glass. However, it was a lot of story, and it was hard to kind of get down to like the actual like practicing it, and like approaching it from a more logical perspective. And it wasn't until, um I guess, Dr. Babbitt, Edwin Babbitt, he wrote a book. I This book here, that looks kind of weird, but in 1878, called On the Principles of Light and Color. And in that book, he was a pioneer. He began to explore how light and color actually affected human beings, and fascinating research. And in so I kind of started finding out that a lot of people kind of didn't know a lot about light, specifically like the three primary colors. Like, most people believe that the primary colors are red. No, no, is it? Yeah, red, yellow, and blue. I believe that's kind of like what most people believe that the primary colors are. But I found that, in dealing with light, which is radiant energy, the actual primary colors are, red, green, and violet. And a very cool way to, there's several ways you can kind of get to that conclusion. The simplest way is, with a prism. You kind of Anyone can buy these. These are very inexpensive, and you kind of put it at the bridge of your nose, and as you rotate the prism, it kind of brings in the spectrum of light that you see, and as you rotate it, it expands and contracts. And so that's a very simple way of, so as the spectrum contracts upon themselves, then you see the three primary colors. There's also other ways of doing it. You could get like a rheostat switch, and then it's like a dimmer, and as you kind of almost turn it off, you can see the three primary colors. And then there's also another way. You could take two projectors, and you can put, the specific filters on them, like you could put the filter, uh, green and red, and it will produce the color yellow. And so, as stated, if it's a primary colors, then it shouldn't be created by two colors. So these are all different ways you can see how the three primary colors are actually red, green, and violet. And this is, again, dealing with radiant energy. I'm not talking about paints. And I think that, um, in in my research, I usually hear people talking about the primary colors in dealing with paints and pigments, but, um, I guess I'm referring to it with light. And so yeah, so that was one thing that I kind of came across, that was like, that everyone believed in. Newton believed in it, and I saw that it was, David Brewster's theory from the 1800s, and everyone just believed that guy. And so that's one interesting concept in regards to light that I kind of wanted to share with you guys, that the primary colors are not what we've been told. And then that kind of, in kind of doing that research, I came across this Indian physician by the name of Dinshaw Gadiali, who he came across the work of Dr. Babbitt and Augustus Pleasanton, and it I think he saw the power of it in when he treated um, his colleague's daughter in 1897, I believe, who she was on her deathbed. And then him knowing that he had read the books of Dr. Babbitt, he went ahead and bought a lantern. And then it was a lantern, and I believe he used like a pickled jar, if my memory serves me, as a filter, and he produced the color indigo, what would be the color indigo. And then after just a few irradiations or tonations, she was able to get out of bed. And that kind of launched him into over 20 years of research, which in 1920 culminated in what he called spectrochrometry. The you know and and to kind of talk a little bit about spectrochrome, it is a lot different than other chromotherapy or color therapy modalities. Um, I believe it's the most comprehensive modality, and maybe if I can share a little bit about that. But and that's not to say that other color therapies don't work, but there are major differences. Is the kind of point I want to get at here. And like for example, there's a lot of research that shows that LED lights are beneficial, and they definitely are. However, in Spectrochrome, we don't use LED lights, and the reason for that is because the quality of light is very, very important. So the source of light. And one simple tool that anyone can purchase is this little like a spectroscope. It costs about, I don't know, I mean like 15, $20. I guess you could find one. And this is an amazing tool because you can with this you can look at all the different light sources. So you can see the difference between like a LED light and a fluorescent light bulb, or an incandescent light bulb, or a halogen incandescent light bulb, or a fluorescent bulb. And so they're all different. They all show differently on the spectroscope here. So this is a very inexpensive tool that I think is very valuable because we can go ahead and examine our light bulbs in our house, for example. And then this can show us like how certain um, light bulbs, like that are even called full spectrum light bulbs, are not truly full spectrum, and they actually have specific peaks that they're produced given the way the light is made, and they're called Fraunhofer lines. And these Fraunhofer lines are peaks, basically showing you that the way the light is produced is unnatural, and these peaks can actually be quite harmful to us. So that's one of the points that I kind of wanted to mention, is the light source is a key thing. And even though there's a lot of research that shows that LEDs do work, and they do, in Spectrochrome, we use incandescent or halogen incandescent light bulbs because they're the closest thing to natural sunlight. With that said, you can also use natural sunlight, but the thing with natural sunlight is, you have to, obviously you have to ensure that the sun is in your direction, and so that depending on where you live and how your windows are, that can be quite challenging. So that's in regards to like light source. And in regards to like light bulbs, there's I really like this one. This is a halogen incandescent light that costs like $2.50. Um, and I bought it with a little adapter, so it fits into any kind of regular socket. And you just connect that here, and that there it is. It fits into any. This cost me like $5. And so you can also use like these little devices here. This is a 25-watt bulb, Incandescent. This is an incandescent bulb, and this is like for appliances. This is nothing, you could find it anywhere. It also costs like, I don't know, $2 or something like that. And so that's the light source that Spectrochrome uses. But again, other color therapies use LED lights and they do work. And the reason, um a lot of times and this is again with infrared. I know many of you have probably heard of infrared light therapy, and it's also extremely beneficial. Um, so the full spectrum is divided into like what people refer to as infra and then the ultra side of the spectrum. And infra, in Latin, just basically means from below. Um, and ultra means up from above. And this is in relation to the visible light spectrum. The visible light spectrum falls within the 49th octave. And so when they refer to as infra, that means frequencies or colors that are below the visible light spectrum. So that's what kind of they refer to. And so the infra colors are usually more stimulating. Like the color red is a stimulating color, the color yellow is a stimulating color, orange, etc. And the ultra side of the spectrum, the colors are more calming or sedative. And the other thing I kind of wanted to touch upon before I kind of get into showing you guys a little bit about how I created my little light set is, I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about, uh, let's see, what was I going to say here? Uh, well, about examples, actual examples in regards to like the symptoms and how the colors, how it's related. So in Spectrochrome, Dinshaw, he was an amazing researcher. Uh, and so he, like Walter Russell, experimented with elements. And so there's many ways of experimenting with elements. Like two that come to mind are like isolating an element just like in a tube. And then another one, if the element is solid, will just um, using like heat to incandescence. So you light up the element, and when it's in a state of a lot of heat, like 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that, you can observe it with spectroscopes. And the elements, as you observe them through the spectroscopes, these elements they will produce, as they kind of disintegrate, these elements produce like a signature or a fingerprint through their Fraunhofer lines, which can be observed via the spectroscope. And so with that, um, Dinshaw and another researcher who did this was also Walter Russell, was able to relate colors with actual elements. So for example, the color blue has, I don't know all the elements by mind, but I know the color blue has oxygen as one of the elements. And for example, the color green has thallium and other types of elements. So this is very powerful. I hadn't come across any other modality that kind of got to that root of things. And so that is what gives spectrochrome colors their attributes. And the way, originally spectrochrome produced its 12 colors by using 5 types of glass filters. But with the invention of Roscaline filters, this gave us an easier, more efficient, effective way to produce the colors. And these colors are based on like the spectroscope. So it's all based on things that you can try out for yourself and you can experiment with. And that's kind of one of the reasons I think this is one of the most precise healing modalities that I've come across, because it's not only empowering where you don't need third parties, um, but it's empowering in the sense that you learn more about your body. And two more things before I get into the light setup that I kind of want to make an emphasis on is that spectrochrome is not an easy thing. Like if people expect like a pill or something very easy, that's not what it is. I've gotten a lot of questions about like, you know, people find it kind of a little bit overwhelming, and it can be, but it is a life changing thing. Like if you're really serious about your health, like if you, for example, have bad eating habits, but think that just because you use color therapy that things are going to get better, that's kind of not how it works. This modality is kind of like a whole lifestyle thing. It involves your diet, what you put in your body, and I created a full course on this because there's just so much that you can kind of get into, but the system is comprehensive. It not only talks about like the science of light and color, but it also talks about the rhythms of the body, which is the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on before I move um, towards the light setup here. So in doing this research, I came across like rhythms that I had never heard anyone talk about in regard, like that happen within our human body. And this specific rhythm, Dinshaw Gadiali called the variant breath. And this variant breath, it's a connection between not only the heart and your lungs, which reminds me of like the Heart Math Institute. So, this relation, you can actually gauge. This is a very simple tool that someone can, if like even before you start using Spectro Chrome, you should know how many breaths per minute you take, and then how many beats per minute your heart is beating. And then it's a simple formula. You just divide breaths per minute by beats per minute, and it will give you something like 4 or 5. 15 breaths per minute, 75 beats per minute. That will give you a number 5. And so this simple equation shows you how strong your body's reparative function processes are at the moment. So this simple little formula will tell you. So if you have a formula of 4 and 5, that means your reparative processes in your body, your natural reparative processes, are intact. And insofar as you um, stop doing things that are like destructive to your body, like your body will recover naturally. So this is one key thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about was like how it relates to like like our reality, the heavens, the stars, just like the tides of the ocean affect the ocean. It also affects, we also have tides in our body. And these tides actually happen, obviously, everyone is different, but more or less around 3 hours. And this can be observed through the pressure of your nostrils. Um, and the way Dinshaw kind of came up with this, he spent over 5 years doing experiments with these wolf bottles. There are these bottles that have, it's like one bottle that have compartments in it, and these bottles you can put plastic tubes, and he put plastic tubes that went into his nostrils. And then over many years at all hours, from the morning, evening, I can only imagine how time consuming it was. He sat there and just kind of breathed into this bottle, taking notes and all that. And he found, that it lasts more or less around 3 hours. The junction happens. The junction is he refers to as when the pressure of both nostrils is even, happens around 45 minutes into the new cycle. And so this is what gives spectrochrome these facts here are what led to specific forecast times. Forecast times in spectrochrome are specific times that your body is actually more receptive to light and color therapy. So this is why it's very important, these to understand these natural rhythms that our body has, because if we understand these rhythms, then we can um, uh, pick the specific time for us to do that therapy, which will be more effective than another time, for example. And this is based off of your location, so latitude and longitude, and also when the sun rises. So this is what's called the forecast time. Um, so I so those are the main things I kind of wanted to discuss. Is there any kind of questions? I know I kind of dropped a lot on you guys right now, but is there some questions before I move on to like the actual setup?
I had a question. It's interesting you're talking about this subject because I was reading about photon light therapy earlier today, and it's actually been recommended to me by a dentist prior to any treatment because apparently it relaxes the body in preparation for any surgery that one might subsequently have. And I was just wondering if you had any knowledge of this and what your insights might be into this.
Yeah. So you mentioned photon therapy, is it? Yeah. So these are all different types of color therapies. I'm not too familiar with that system, but yes. Did he? Can I ask what did he mention a specific color or?
He didn't. I mean, apparently, he offers this through somebody in preparation for surgery. It I think it involves the use of mirrors. And he
Mm.
said, "What he said, don't come with dark clothing. Don't avoid wearing black because apparently there's an issue around black absorbing certain colors, and therefore the therapy may not be as effective as you'd like it to be."
So you bring up two great points, and thank you for that question. The first point is that in spectrochrome, you are correct. In spectrochrome, when we use light therapy, we irradiate, or the term that Dinshaw uses is tonate on with like on bare skin. We don't tonate on top of our skin because it's a layer, an extra layer of things. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the differences between the theories of light therapies that you just brought up. So most other therapies state that light works because it is hitting the body. It is like, touching the body. What's very different about spectrochrome, and Dinshaw is very clear on this, is that spectrochrome, he states, that actually works on the human uh, radioactive emanation, or what some people refer to as the aura. So, which is something very different than what other color therapies um, uh, state. So spectrochrome, in addition to it being the most comprehensive modality that I've come across, it also has a lot of what Dinshaw refers to as occult processes that are very hard to explain, and I think this is one of them. He also refers to as the human body as it actually having seven divisions within the human body, and also he refers to reality as having seven divisions. And so this is what I found challenging to communicate in because when you're dealing with occult chemistry or occult knowledge, it kind of makes things harder to kind of stick to the facts, and that's at least something I try to do. But so I did want to kind of mention that there are a lot of his work is based on like occult books, because he was Dinshaw was part of the Theosophical Society. So he became a member of the Blavatsky Lodge in Bombay, India, I think at the age of 17. And he writes about some very interesting experiences, but I think that's another topic, and I don't want to, go off on a tangent on that. But thank you, Cash. Those were great questions.
The
I've
seven.
got one more. Sorry, if what I've also understood is that these light therapies can also be used to unblock trauma that is in the body, and I was just wondering whether you had any insights on that.
So, oh man, you have really good questions, Cash. I really appreciate them. So, in the way the colors are created, there are 12 spectrochrome colors, and original color that Dinshaw created is the color magenta. And the color magenta he created by using by mixing the color violet with the color red, and that created the color magenta. And he talks about the color magenta. He talks about it as the second octave of colors, which was very, very fascinating to me. And he refers to that color as an emotional color that works on your emotions. That's the color that is actually used for all heart conditions. I use that color all the time. Um, So interesting that you mentioned that. That's the color that he refers to as the emotional color, and it's the other polarity on the well, maybe this is beyond this. So, Spectrochrome, there is a master key to Spectrochrome, and if you understand this master key, it kind of deciphers like the system. And the master key is the Mogan David. The Mogan David is the master key to Spectrochrome. All the 12 colors fit in it. All colors are divided by 30 degrees. Um, Once you put all the colors on the Mogan David, it creates a full circle, 360 degrees. And it also, if once you have the colors aligned, it tells you the opposite colors. Uh, it's an amazing master key, and I kind of go over it in depth in my course, but I guess I figured I mention it here. But I hope that answers your question, Cash.
Do the seven divisions relate to the seven chakras, seven major chakras that we have? Is that?
So like in the physical plane, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He refers to no, he actually gets to really like well, the beauty of Dinsha was that he was a good bridge between East and the West. And the seven divisions of the physical plane are like solid is the first division, liquid is the second division, gas is the third division, and then he refers to the four other divisions as ether one, ether two, ether three, ether four. And for example, in the first ether, in the fourth division of the physical plane, he says that light and heat travel upon that medium. So there are other scientists who have this opinion as well, but in the late 1800s, when they got rid of the whole ether concept with the Michelson-Morley experiment of the late 1800s, they got rid of the whole ether concept, and so it just people stop talking about it. But he is of the opinion that, and this kind of goes off of the Maxwell's equations of the 1860s with polarized light that basically prove that light, electricity, and magnetism are cognate energies or are related energies. Dinshaw goes above and beyond that. He says that all energy is actually related, and the difference between just electricity, for example, and light are octaves. And So he's of that opinion that energy is actually related. And so with these mediums, these seven divisions of the physical plane, different energy travel upon these mediums. Does that answer your question, Dave?
Yeah, well, it's not. So it's not quite the same as the chakras.
Yeah, it wasn't the chakras. Although, interesting. Okay, so on the chakras concept, he found a connection. His research, because he not only was a physician, but he was an engineer. He was an amazing scientist. They called him the Parsi Tesla. So he met Tesla, he met Edison, and he met like a whole bunch of famous people in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And in one of the studies that I came across that he did was that he actually connected the ganglia, what in in West, like these ganglia, these uh ganglias are like were like a hub where there's a lot of nerves that connect there. And so he was able to connect the ganglia with the chakras. And so he was big on the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system actually working hand in hand. Most people believe that the parasympathetic and the sympathetic systems are almost like involuntary, right? Like the autonomic system is involuntary. Um, and so he actually proved that our ganglia are like in the Western world, what we refer to as ganglia, where all these networks and nexuses are related to the chakras. Um, but there's more to it. I think I'm not doing it justice right here. There's a little bit more. I'm just not too. Um, uh, I don't have all the details in mind in regards to like the whole physiology and anatomical um,
Okay.
things, but I did read it a while back, and
Uh,
you reminded me of that.
I was just wondering if you could use it. So, like, I have a practice of opening up the chakras every day, and I wondered if you could use that color uh, with the chakras, and it would it would help. It would expand. It would.
So, okay, so with that said, you guys are asking great questions. So Dinshaw divided the human body into 22 areas. And these 22 areas, he just this whole story behind it was that he told a patient of his to irradiate in the thyroid, and then she started irradiating in her thighs. So in order to avoid this mishap from happening, he basically created numbers, and he said, okay, irradiate in area 2 and area 3, or etc. So he divided the human body into 22 different areas, and he found through a process. So there is a tool that he invented called the itisometer. I don't know if you guys could. It's an itisometer, and this basically it's super simple. There's areas of the body that you can take your own temperature. So you would need a thermometer. You would take specific temperature, and there's a whole process. This is advanced stuff, but there is a process here that you can use that kind of tell you based on the temperature, right? You see the temperature on the outside, and then the temperatures have colors, right? So you can take temperatures, for example, on different parts of your body and even your organs. And based on these different temperatures, specific organs they like for example the liver is the like the color red. It's that's the color for the liver, the color red. For the color for your heart is the color magenta, for example, just to give you two examples. So this system is very, very in depth, very comprehensive. You really get to know your body. And I think that's why it's so empowering, because once you know more about how your body actually processes things and like what makes it go and how it needs rest, and all these, like, that's super powerful to know. And being able to kind of create your own simple device at home and using it at your house is one of the reasons that I think that this system is so amazing. So I guess we'll have more questions. I'll get started with, I want to show you my light kit. Again, you guys can create any lamps, like this one I found on the street, and I repaired it, and then I put it back here. But like if I was on a budget, then I would use this. This was for free, and this cost me $2. And then I would have to create like a do-it-yourself thing. Um, these are these are the Roscaline filters that you buy. You buy 12 of them, and they are specific colors, and they do sometimes change. These are up to date. I confirmed with the Dinshaw Health Society as of March of 2025 that these are the correct filters. And yeah, you buy these, and then you just kind of put it in front of it. So the one that I purchased is a part. It's called a Par 38 light, and this is like a stage light. And the reason I like it is because it can sit on a light stand, and it kind of moves around. You can move it around. And then it also has this where I put my filters in. So my filters go in here. And let's see here. You just kind of put that like that. And it's as simple as that. And this light here cost me about $20 or something like that. And then the stand cost me like an additional 15 or $20. And the most expensive thing are your filters. But I actually found a very inexpensive place that you could get the whole set for, I believe, under $100. I have to double check, but it's literally as simple as that. And if this light is too expensive, then another option would be these clamp lights that I think cost like $11. Like usually people buy them for like work. and they have a clamp, and those are really good. You just kind of have to do it yourself for the filter, but this is very, very practical, I would say. And I guess I can mention more like the specific, like you only require two tonations a day, one in the morning, in the evening. And usually it's a good rule of thumb if during the day that you use infracolors, which are more stimulating, right? Because you don't want to use stimulating colors right before you go to sleep, right? Then you're going to have problems sleeping. And then the ultra colors that are more calming in the evening. And if people do have problems sleeping, um, the color purple is amazing. It literally puts people out. I've tried it multiple times without even telling people. I just kind of put the purple color on them, and they pass out. They go to sleep. And another thing that I learned that I would like to share with you guys is, how do you reset? Like, say your breath is out of whack, right? It's just like you're out of whack. Like, how do you reset it? So I found that a simple way of resetting it is the holding of the breath, specifically when the sun rises. So if you're really serious about, like, if like you know your heart, and I think the Heart Math Institute talks about this. Um, so when the sun rises where you're at, during that time, just when on your, let's see, when on the X, no, on the inhale, you hold, and you hold for as long as you can. And this actually shows you again how your like your vitality. So if you're able to only hold your breath for about 60 seconds, that means it's low. If you could hold your breath for about 80 to 84 seconds, then that's more or less average. And if you could hold it for, I can't remember what the other number is, but a little bit longer than that, then that's really good. But this holding of the breath, it literally resets. So once you gasp for air again, that it's going to like recalibrate your breath heart rhythm. So that's a very simple thing that anyone can do, but you just got to do it when the sun rises or the sun sets. Those are some key things to that.
Should you be in the sun then, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. You could if you wish. So, oh, and one last thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. So the 12 colors that we use for spectrochrome they all fall within the visible light spectrum. So they do not cause harm. They don't burn you. Like, for example, if you stay in the sun for a long time, the sun has in addition to the visible spectrum, it has other energies in it too, which is why we get burned, because there's a lot of stuff from the infra side that causes burns. Um, so because spectrochrome does not use colors outside of the visible spectrum, um, it's not harmful. So it has no negative side effects.
So
Um,
okay,
sorry, you
yes.
go, Dave.
So I was just
You go.
wanted to know about your practice then. Like, so are you getting up in the morning and you're putting on an infrared first thing and you're bathing in this light? And for how long? And yeah.
You know what? Maybe we can use an example. Does anyone have an example? Because this is a really good question, and I think an example would be the best way to answer it. So let's say, can anyone give me an example of like a symptom, or a symptom, for example, that they would
So
like to
I have
address?
osteoarthritis in my knees. Is
Uh,
it talking about something like getting rid of things like that or what?
okay, let's see if I can find osteoarthritis, because there's a whole bunch of.
I've got another one, Carlos, which is
Mhm.
maybe feeling sluggish in the morning. So maybe that might be something you could consider as well.
All right, let me just find there's this manual that I purchased. It's called Let There Be Light, and this is a manual. It's not really like a book, but it's amazing. It has all these conditions, and people have already done the research in these. So oh man, I should have had a better setup. But in any event, they kind of already tell you where to irradiate, for example. So let me see if I can find one because it's not like in the most orderly. Uh, it's not in, like it's not very orderly here. Let's see.
But so what you're saying is that if you've got an ailment, you will find the specific color, and then you will bathe yourself in that color for a certain amount of time. And you'll do that in
Yeah.
the
So
morning, and you'll use an infrared one in the morning. And is will there be a ultraviolet one for an evening as well, or is that all separate? Or
okay. Uh, Not quite here. I'm just trying to find your example, but just for lack of time here, I'll do let's say someone has let's say diabetes. Diabetes is a common one, and it's right here. So diabetes, if I follow this manual here, it says to use the color lemon. And I'm just kind of I'm gonna go through how I do it so that way you see how easy it is. It's just gonna take a few seconds. Just give me some time here. All right, so the color lemon. So I'm just gonna tell you how I do it. So I look at that and say if I had diabetes, right? And then I look at the color lemon and the number, it says the reason it's because of number 22. And it says systemic front. So systemic front means everything from your waist to the top of your head. So they want you to light your whole from your waist to the top of the head to begin with the color lemon. And the reason for that is because it produces a favorable change in the process of nutrition and repair in persistent disorders. So the color lemon is used if there's persistent disorders. Now, alternatively, if you have something that just happened, right? That's not persistent, that just occurred, then you would use the color turquoise. The color turquoise is for colors that are um, recent disorders. And so moving forward with that same example, let's oh man, I lost my 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 finger here, but lost where I was at. Um, okay, here it is. And then that would be followed by the color green in area one. So area one is your head. So, and the reason you would use the color green is because it says here, color green, you would use it because of number 30, and number 30 says it's a pituitary stimulant and equilibrator. So you start seeing, so at first you would begin using the color yellow. After you tonate maybe a few days, then you would switch over to the color green on your head. And then after that, you would switch over to the color orange on area 3, which is your thyroid here. This is area 3. And you would use the color orange on that. And the reason for that is, let's see, it's the reason for that is number 7. It's a thyroid builder and stimulant. So that's only 3 colors, right? And so after you use that color for a few days, then you would switch over to the color indigo on areas 1 through 15. And the reason for that would be the color indigo. The color indigo would be number 44. And the reason for that is because it causes contraction, it controls abscesses, lessens secretions, arrests discharges, hemorrhages. So it's a anti-emetic and hemostatic. So that would be the reason for using indigo. And then finally, we would end by using the color magenta on area 18, which is the back. No, area 18, I'm sorry. I'm getting my things mixed up. Area 18 is, should have had my book ready. Let's see, area 18 is your lower back or where your kidneys are. where your kidneys are. And you would the reason for that is reason number 69, which would be, yeah, the kidneys. So that would be, that's just kind of a really quick overview of how someone would address the diabetes. So you would use multiple colors on multiple areas for specific reasons. And this manual is amazing. And the more you use it, the more you become familiar with things and kind of it becomes more second nature. Um, so I hope that kind of, does that answer your question, or did that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's you basically you need the manual. You need to
Mhm.
then see what ailment you have, and then follow
I
the
mean,
yeah. So
another way is like you could get to know the colors. Like that's the way I'm learning it is I start with the colors because there's only 12 colors, right? There's hundreds of different symptoms, right? But there's only 12 colors. So if you could remember 12 colors and their attributes, then you can kind of go about it that way. But the manual is like a godsend because it's updated and it not only it has over 100 years of people's experiences in it, I would say. So I think it's an amazing resource. Cash, you have a question?
Yeah, I've got one more. At the beginning of your presentation, you were talking about um, incandescent lighting, um, about what was the other one? Halogen lighting, and how this could be used. Because, as you know, the big push has been around this carbon zero, this LED, and all this nonsense, right? And I was just wondering if, because I'm hoping to move at some point and I want to sort out my lighting. You know, it's a practical question, really.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on the sort of lighting that one might have at home, and how to position yourself in that for your own well-being.
I mean, personally, I switched all my light bulbs from LEDs. Once I bought this spectroscope and I saw my lights, I took them down immediately because they were like they were really bad. And so for me, I just switched them all out. And it just you feel a little bit. It just creates a more natural ambiance. It's kind of hard to explain, but um, people seem to feel relaxed because there are specific fluorescent bulbs. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone to like certain stores, and if people are sensitive, they could feel it. Like the light is not good. And yeah, so I think it's important.
I found myself not using my main lights, and I use side lights, and that creates a better atmosphere at home, and then I can choose my light bulbs. But I got caught up in all this LED nonsense years ago, and
Mhm.
but I found myself just not using it, basically.
And this is a great question because if people are really out, like say if they have problems sleeping because they're on computers too much or just they have the wrong lights on all the time, um, like some people, like if it's really serious, they go back to candles. Some people in the evening they kind of do candles, and that's really light on the eyes, and it helps with the whole circadian rhythm. Knowing, telling your body, hey, it's nighttime. You need to start winding down. So it just depends on the people's symptoms, how where they're at, I would say.
Carlos.
Yes. Hey, Ritz.
Hi. I had a question. Your thoughts on I just had this idea because my mom's having difficulty with sleeping, and there's so many people who have difficulty sleeping, but she's reached a certain age, and then she just wants the lights on all the time, and and when you mentioned people with sleep problems and the color purple, then maybe, she wants the lights on all the time. So I thought maybe what I could do is try to, I'll show you, use like what we what we normally have, like I don't know if you can see this, is like a silk. This is yellow, but
Hmm.
if I use something like a purple or violet
Hmm.
type of um, covering over her lamp,
Hmm.
I wanted to know what your thoughts would be on. I mean, I could just try it and see, but if purple, you said it just works like crazy, right? Using
Yeah,
purple.
yeah. I would just get the filters. The filters are not expensive. And I think they would do a. I just well, with a cloth, what comes to mind is you're kind of blocking the light. Um, so that's where my mind goes to that. I don't know how effective. Maybe that's a good thing because it's basically reducing the light, right? Which is probably keeping her up. So on that end, that's a good thing, I would say. But like to create the effect that the color purple would create, I think you would need the actual filter to create that. And honestly, like very interesting. It almost works automatically. I remember I had an eye sigh, and I remember like the first few days it was just irritating. Like I wanted to like go at it all the time. And I remember when I would turn on the specifically the color blue. The color blue is a very soothing color, and it would literally just seconds it just stopped itching, like the irritation would alleviate automatically. um it's almost instantaneous, I would say. It's super calming. If your mom is how I would also suggest her looking into her diet, because light and what you put in your body, they almost go hand in hand. So I would really look into her diet, making sure that she's getting all her nutrients. Are very important, that she eat fresh food, fresh things. Spectro Chrome is big on eating fresh things. There's a whole section in regards to avoiding overcooking your vegetables, because it just kills all the good stuff. So there's a whole chapter on that as well, of just being aware of what you put in your body, things to avoid, all that stuff. Because like I said earlier, even you might be using the light system 100% correct, but if you're not eating the right things, or you're doing harmful things to your body, then the light's not going to do anything. It only works if you go 100%. Like you have to, it's like a lifestyle, I would say.
Yeah, that's interesting what you say about food, though. She doesn't live with me, but I know my sister takes care of her really well in terms of diet. But what you said is really interesting because if you overcook vegetables, they change color, right? Like if you put steamed broccoli or something like that, then if you overcook it, the color changes and stuff. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it's
what's
fascinating.
fascinating about that is that I first read that, like, even before I knew about spectrochrome, I came across that information like from the Vedic culture. They were really big on like food, things are alive, and if you obviously if you eat them fresher, they have more life force in it, and they're healthier for you. But in any event, so spectrochrome does also uh look at it from that point of view as well.
Thanks.
Well, we're about an hour in. Does anyone have any last few questions before we close it out? Let's see the chat here. Do we have any questions on the chat? Oh, great. You found a online copy. Awesome, Ritz. Awesome. So,
I have a question.
yeah,
When you're using the light, like the stage light, and you put the filter in, how close is it to your body?
that's a great question. So I keep it about anywhere from 3 to 6 feet. More for me, it's more like 4 feet, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, there is a chapter on that, and it just says like, yeah, don't keep it too far away from you. Obviously, distance plays a role. So I would say anywhere between 3 to 6 feet would be ideal.
Okay,
And
great.
oh, lastly, last thing. So in Spectrochrome, there is also a practice called color charged water. It's very cool stuff. And you can put a little bit of you don't need that much water, just like a few ounces. I would get, I would say, 4 ounces or something. You just want to make sure that it's not near you because your aura can affect it. So you want to just keep it away from you, but you can do it as you tonate. Just kind of keep it on the other side of you. And so once after you tonate, then you can drink the water or you can drink the milk. And it has people swear by it. They say it has amazing effects.
Great. Thanks.
You said having a certain distance away, but you also mentioned like very specific areas. So how does that work? If you're 4 feet away and you want to just charge up a specific area, because I was thinking you would have to have it closer.
Yeah. So there are barn doors that you can, that's like an adapter, and they kind of uh, focus the light where you want it to go. So that's an option. I don't have barn doors. So what I kind of do is I just kind of cover myself. I'll get like a
Okay.
a small blanket or whatever, and I'll just kind of I'll uncover the area that I want tonated and cover the other area.
Okay.
So that's what I kind of been doing. But
Excellent.
great questions, guys. Great questions. Go ahead.
Well, I just would like to know where we can. You mentioned that you were doing a course. You have a course available, and if maybe you could tell us more about where we can find more about your work, the course, and anything else that people can find you from. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Well, first I want to give a big shout out again to Team Duda for their amazing uh, for Dave for what you're doing. It's truly amazing. And I'm very happy to be part of it. Um, yeah, I created a course because I just wanted to stop talking. I couldn't stop talking about it. I said, you know what, just let me create a course and put it out there. And that kind of launched June 20th. And basically it's a introduction, kind of like my presentation today kind of was a little bit all over the place. My course it goes over like my 2.5 years of research in light and color, and it touches upon all the major concepts. It could have been 20 hours, but I kept it's about 2 hours, and it kind of just highlights all the big concepts. Some of them I touched upon today, but I kind of go a little bit more in depth, uh, like the seven divisions of the physical plane and things of that nature. I go over the master key and anyways, it's just organized, uh, and it's completely digitized. And that can be found on www.thelightlab.org. And we'll see. That's my initial digital asset, but I'm going to continue to add to it as I record more and create more content. But I want to thank everyone for their time and their amazing questions. I hope you guys found some value in the information here. And yeah, let the light therapy begin.
Nice. No, it was amazing, Carlos. Thank you so much. Wow, you've really taken in a lot of information. I mean, it was like wow, yeah, fascinating. And yeah, I'm definitely going to check out the course because yeah, it was amazing. Well done. Thank you. Thank
And I also have a frequently FAQ. I was getting so many questions that I decided to create another page on the website. So there's a FAQ page, which kind of goes over the actual Roscaline filters that you need. They're there. There's a link there of where you can buy them. I don't currently there's no affiliate thing, so I don't get anything from it. That's just where I bought them. So that's there on that FAQ section too, in addition to other questions that you might have. So feel free to check that out.
Nice one. Thank you so much, Carlos. It's been amazing. So yeah, I think we'll end it here. Unless anyone else has a final question. No. Okay. Well,
All right,
lovely,
guys.
Carlos. Thank you so much.
Have an excellent rest of your day, guys.
Well,
Bye.
cheers.